What's going on? All right, so I'm gonna do super quick overview of the internet marketing process and just kind of why we talk about getting buyers versus getting leads and why there's not technically anything wrong with doing either. So first you just need to define your sales process, right? So some people they ask me like which process should I choose. So I'm going to rank them from highest converting to lowest converting, right? So the highest converting is calls. And nobody likes that answer. But the truth is like if you can get somebody to get on the call, then you can talk with them and you can devise a plan with them and you can handle objections on the spot. And if you're not even good at calls, but you're just building a relationship with somebody, it's a human to human interaction. So this one's the highest converting, but there's a reason why some people don't do it, and it's because they don't want to scale their livelihood based on calls. I have clients actually where a call to them is worth 40 grand, so they're never going to stop doing calls. I would say the mid range is going to be webinars, presentations, and communities. And I'm going to kind of, for communities, I'm going to put DMs here because like I believe like Instagram's a community and Facebook's a community. So the reason why all of these three work is because there's also like a layer of communication that you're having. You can message back and forth to somebody. You can again handle an objection on the spot. And so a lot of times I'll have people start with the calls if they have background, if their company has already existed, or start with the webinars if they've been around and they have a list, because I'm like, hey, at least what we're going to get out of this process is we're going to pull objections, and that will help us with sales copy. Because truly in your sales copy, you need to be super proactive with your objections. All right, and then the lowest, hopefully it's not too loud. I have like my dishwasher, my washing machine, and construction going on. It's going to be direct to sale. Well, I'm going to say second lowest converting is direct to sale. So this is where you have a sales letter, and this requires a lot of repetition and indoctrination. So we're talking multiple videos, multiple educational components, lots of content, really not nurturing, really convincing people that what you're talking about is possible for them, that there's an opportunity there, teaching them how the opportunity works, giving in advance, pretty much giving all of it away in the hope that they say, okay, I want you to show me. Now, direct to sale is different when we're talking about like a service or a digital product versus like a physical product, because like an app or anything like that, that's typically feature based and that's typically like a big promise. So if you have an app, you can't be like, my app has the nicest interface and it's really good for people who like the color purple, and purple is proven to improve productivity. Like that's not going to be a very convincing message. But if you're talking about, when we talk about the big promise or the, risk reversal is another way we say that, is if your app says if you say my app can help save your business $20,000 in, cost for an employee, then that's a bigger value proposition. That's a bigger promise. That's a bigger risk reversal for them to try it out. And you can stack risk reversals by saying it takes no time to set up and all these other things that people add. But when you're selling a service, it typically requires a lot of indoctrination to make it feel possible. And then people will strike kind of like, okay, am I indoctrinating? Am I talking about features? And then eventually they'll strike like a happy medium when it comes to SaaS. And then the lowest is going to be free to paid. And these are sometimes the best for people because it helps you test what the market responds to. I do believe there's a ton of value in building a community. So we're talking about newsletters, groups, just things you do to build. And the name of the game here is that we get people from whatever platform they're on. So this could be YouTube organic or Facebook or Nextdoor, or, Instagram. It doesn't, TikTok. It doesn't actually matter which platform you use. unless, it's specific to the audience. Like, it's kind of weird because I get all of my buyers from Facebook, but if I stop targeting Instagram, then I stop getting buyers. And I think it's because they're seeing me on both. So it's just good. More is better when it comes to platforms. Again, answers that people to questions that people don't like. It's an unfun answer to say, okay, I need to make content. But the nice part about it is you can just post the same content everywhere. I know a lot of people are like, be specific with the algorithm, but at small scale, that doesn't really matter as much. I've gotten 300,000 views in 90 days from just multi-posting. And, one video goes viral on Facebook and the next video goes viral somewhere else. Okay, I think the crazy noises are finished. So they're on a platform, and then you want to get them onto your ecosystem. There's layers to that. First is your profiles. You want them following and liking, commenting, and direct messaging. And then you have your list, email, and then phone, although phone is very expensive to get. And then, or groups also work, school, things like that. Facebook groups even work. And then you want to repeat contact. This is where a lot of people give up, Grant Cardone, I think, said that there was it takes 20 plus contacts. I think it's more. I think it takes 52 contacts. And the reason why I chose 52 is because that's how many weeks there are a year. So I think you should be talking with your list once a week, at least on the low end. And then you have these phases of buyers, 30, 60, and 90 plus. And so the first 30, you should be okay with losing money or being break even. 60, this is where we should see some of our profit. This happens because we're repeating offers. 90 plus, this is going to be where all of your net is, and this should be repeats and new products. And I would say most businesses operate where they're saying, okay, if I'm not ultra profitable in this 30 and 60 day window, then things aren't working. And I don't believe that to be true. I think that it's crazy. A great example of this is I have a client that makes YouTube content. It's the same client that does 5-figure sales calls, and they won't hear from their customer. Their customer will not opt in. Their customer won't do anything, but they will call. And randomly, not randomly, but seemingly randomly, somebody will call the business and they'll say, hey, I've been watching your videos and I'm ready to buy. And that's a stealth buyer. So the stealth buyers live in the 90-day window. These are people who are skeptical because they have more risk. When you have low risk, you're impulsive. Less risk, impulse, and you're willing to try things, High risk, slow to make a decision, lots of nurture. And there's nothing wrong with being either of these buyers. There's many scenarios. I'm a very low risk person. When it comes to Facebook ads, I'm cool with losing $1,000 a week. That's the name of the game here is I'm willing to, I feel like the reward of, the higher the reward, the less implied risk. And the lower the reward, it's almost like the higher the risk, because when you're a big business and you're making these changes, they don't always equate to massive profits. They sometimes are 10% improvement in efficiency, which maybe increases their net profit by an extra % or 2, which is a pretty low reward for sometimes high risks, which could interrupt business processes. So you really have to, at the end of the day, no matter what sales process you choose, and no matter, how you decide to approach marketing in your business, I think the best thing to do is just pay attention to your customer and really put yourself in their shoes. How are they buying? And how are they, and how can you're not trying to challenge people's human nature. You're just trying to find a process that reaffirms really that their feelings about everything is correct, and that will get them to be open-minded enough to then present them with a way of achieving what they want to achieve, which is your way. But with a closed mind audience, because you're not meeting them where they're at, they're never going to be open to your offers. And that's why I think we see so many clickbaity type of ads and content, is because you have to say, I always use the relationship counselor example. If he thinks that she's wrong, then your content needs to say, prove her wrong. And then once they're listening, say, it's impossible to do that when you're acting like an idiot all the time. But you got them hooked in right on the thing, because they need to believe that it's possible for them. So yeah, hooks are really, really important with that. Marketing is really, really important with that. And then choosing your sales process really is just, yeah, should you go for calls? That's why you see so many agencies, by the way, marketing, hey, like, we'll get you calls and we'll close calls for you, because if you can be a good closer and you can close somebody on the phone, like, you can typically extract more money out of them. Webinars is going to be like your mid ticket, and then lowest direct to sale is going to be your lowest ticket. It's very difficult to convert somebody on $1,000 product with just a good sales letter, unless you have a strong, long reputation in the marketplace. All right, so that was just kind of me rambling for about 12 minutes on what I believe internet marketing is. And if you want help with stuff, just reply to my emails, and we can set up a call. I don't have anything expensive, but I am willing to see how I can help you.